Iran just made an offer that should have helped India. But instead, it may have put India in one of the most dangerous positions it's faced in years. Because buried inside Iran's latest announcement was a message that changes everything. On March 25th, Iran revealed that only 5 nations would receive safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz during the ongoing war. India was one of them, and what looked like a strategic advantage at first may actually be a trap. Because every ship India sends through that strait now carries an invisible invoice, political alignment, diplomatic silence, the understanding that favors aren't free, and Tehran remembers who stood where when the missiles were flying. India didn't ask to be on this list, but being excluded would have been catastrophic. So New Delhi accepted. And in that acceptance, India handed Iran leverage over the 5th largest economy on Earth. Here's what most people missed. Iran's offer isn't about helping friendly nations. It's about creating a club of countries whose economies now depend on Iranian goodwill to function. You want your oil? Stay friendly. You need cooking gas for 1.4 billion people. Don't vote the wrong way at the UN. The strait isn't just closed to enemies, it's conditionally open to friends. And conditional access is just another word for control. Let's talk numbers. India imports 90% of its crude oil. Half of that flows through Hormuz. But it's not just crude. 90% of India's liquefied petroleum gas comes through that same 21-mile gap. LPG is how India cooks. It's not a luxury fuel for transportation. It's the thing that keeps households from burning wood and kerosene indoors. When the war started in late February, India's crude prices jumped from $69 per barrel to $113 in less than a month. Brent crude spiked from $80 to $120 between March 2nd and March 9th, a 50% increase in 1 week. Household spending on cooking fuel rose 7% almost immediately. Then the real crisis hit. LPG shortages, long lines at distribution centers, restaurants in Mumbai shutting down because they couldn't get gas to cook with. Gujarat's ceramics industry went offline, not because of sanctions, because the fuel to fire the kilns stopped arriving. India's strategic petroleum reserves hold enough oil for 20 to 25 days. 3 weeks. That's the buffer between normal operations and economic collapse. The government slashed fuel taxes to keep prices from exploding. Petrol duties dropped from 13 rupees per liter to 3. The 10 rupee diesel duty disappeared entirely. These aren't policy adjustments. These are emergency measures you take when your economy is teetering. And Iran knows all of this. So when Tehran offered India safe passage, it wasn't charity. It was a reminder. Your economy runs on our permission. 17 Indian-flagged vessels were stranded when the strait closed. 7 have made it through since the offer, but each crossing requires coordination with Iranian authorities. Each ship that passes is another data point proving India's dependence. Now here's where it gets worse. Iran didn't just offer safe passage. Iran proposed a framework to the United States. Reopen the strait first, extend the ceasefire, defer nuclear negotiations until later, deal with the blockade now, the nukes later. For India, this creates an impossible calculation. If the strait reopens, India's immediate energy crisis eases, prices stabilize, the LPG shortage ends, economic disaster averted. But if that deal strengthens Iran's negotiating position with Washington, if it gives Tehran more leverage over future sanctions, if it entrenches Iran's ability to close the strait again whenever it wants, then India just traded short-term relief for long-term vulnerability. And India can't say any of this out loud. Because the moment New Delhi criticizes the Iranian proposal, the safe corridor disappears. The 17 stranded vessels stay stranded. The fuel crisis deepens. Iran doesn't need to threaten India explicitly. The dependence is the threat. But wait. Wasn't India supposed to be the country that plays all sides? The nation that buys Russian S-400s and American F-16 engines simultaneously? The power that maintains ties with both Israel and Iran while everyone else picks teams? That strategy just hit a wall. because Iran's offer exposes the difference between balancing relationships in peacetime and maintaining them during war. When missiles are flying, neutrality isn't a position, it's a performance. And performances require all actors to cooperate. The problem is one of the actors just sank in the Indian Ocean. April 19th. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz and fired on Indian ships. Tehran later said the shooting wasn't intentional. April 22nd. Iran seized an Indian vessel trying to cross. India didn't retaliate, didn't condemn, didn't even issue a strong statement. Because what's India going to do? Cut off oil imports and watch the economy implode in 3 weeks? The entire theory of strategic autonomy rested on one assumption, that India's relationships with all sides gave it freedom to maneuver. But freedom requires options. And when 90% of your cooking fuel flows through a strait controlled by one country, you don't have options. You have a dependency dressed up as a partnership. Now add the diplomatic humiliation. While India quietly negotiated for safe passage, Pakistan became the mediator, not India. Pakistan. The country India has fought 3 wars with is now the primary back-channel between Washington and Tehran. Foreign Minister Araghchi didn't fly to New Delhi during his 72-hour diplomatic sprint. He flew to Islamabad. Twice. The emergence of Pakistan as a key interlocutor is what analysts are calling a stinging strategic setback for India. Opposition leader Rahul Gandhi called it a failure of foreign policy. But it's worse than that. It's proof that influence isn't measured by GDP or military spending. It's measured by who gets the phone call when the crisis hits. And India didn't get the call. Trump canceled plans to send envoys to meet Iranian officials in Pakistan. Then Iran reportedly came back with a better offer. We don't know what's in it, but we know it went through Islamabad, not New Delhi. While India was sheltering Iranian sailors and housing their warship at Kochi, Pakistan was in the room where the actual decisions were being made. Here's the contradiction India can't escape. New Delhi sheltered 183 Iranian crew members after the Iris Dana sank, gave them refuge, arranged flights home. The same day a U.S. submarine sank that ship in Indian waters. India helped the survivors of an attack conducted by its closest strategic partner against a country it's trying to stay neutral toward. And somehow that balancing act was supposed to prove India's diplomatic sophistication. Instead, it proved India's irrelevance. Washington didn't ask permission before firing that torpedo. Tehran didn't ask permission before sending the surviving frigate to dock at Kochi. India found out the same way everyone else did, by watching it happen. The Indian Ocean carries India's name, but when superpowers fight there, India is a spectator with a good seat, not a player with a say. Now layer in the Chabahar problem. India spent $120 million developing a port in southeastern Iran. The whole point was to access Afghanistan and Central Asia without going through Pakistan. It was India's answer to China's Belt and Road, a gateway to Eurasia that bypassed the rival next door. U.S. sanctions are tightening. The waiver India had is expiring. New Delhi is now considering temporarily divesting its stake, not abandoning the port entirely, just transferring it to an Iranian entity until the political situation stabilizes. Which is a polite way of saying India might lose the one strategic asset it spent a decade building in Iran, because staying invested risks American sanctions that could cripple the broader economy. If India walks away, even temporarily, China will absorb Chabahar into its own infrastructure network within months. The port India built to counter Chinese influence will become another node in the system India was trying to avoid. Strategic analyst C. Raj Mohan put it simply, Chabahar was not merely a port, it was India's bridge to Eurasia. Losing it doesn't just cost money, it costs access. So here's where India stands, dependent on Iran for energy, losing ground to Pakistan on diplomacy, risking its biggest infrastructure project in the region, and watching its claims of being the Indian Ocean's net security provider get shredded every time a foreign submarine fires a torpedo in waters India can't control. The math is brutal. India's crude oil import bill could increase by $75 to $100 billion if prices hit $150 per barrel. Iran has already threatened that number. It's not theoretical. At that price, India faces double-digit inflation, emergency rate hikes, and growth projections collapsing. The fifth largest economy doesn't just stumble, it breaks. And Iran's offer, the safe passage, the transit fee exemption, the friendly nation status, all of it comes with one unspoken condition: stay friendly. Because the moment India isn't, those 17 ships waiting for passage become permanent fixtures. The fuel stops flowing. The ceramics industry stays offline. The restaurants stay closed. India is paying for energy security with diplomatic alignment. And the price just went up. Every benefit India receives from Iran now carries an expectation. Vote the right way. Stay quiet at the UN. Don't criticize the closure of the strait. Don't condemn the seizure of ships. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Iran doesn't need to say it explicitly. The dependence does the talking. India spent 2 decades building what it called strategic autonomy, the idea that New Delhi could maintain relationships with everyone and commitments to no one, buy weapons from Russia, partner with America, trade with China, invest in Iran, all at once, all without choosing sides. That model just collapsed because strategic autonomy only works when you have leverage. And leverage requires that other countries need you more than you need them. Right now, India needs Iran's permission to keep the economy running. That's not autonomy, that's dependency with better branding. The transit fee exemption isn't a gift, it's a leash. And every ship that crosses Hormuz pulls it tighter. Then there's Iran's new offer. And this is where the story shifts from energy dependence to diplomatic checkmate. April 2026. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi conducted a 72-hour sprint across 3 countries: Pakistan twice, Oman, Russia. The pattern was obvious. Iran was shopping a proposal and needed buy-in before presenting it to Washington. Trump's envoys were scheduled to meet Iranian counterparts in Islamabad. Trump canceled the trip hours before departure. Iran followed up with what Trump himself called a much better offer. He hasn't revealed what it contains. Secretary of State Marco Rubio dismissed it immediately. Iran's version of opening the straits, Rubio said, means ships coordinate with Iran, get their permission, or face threats. That's not reopening. That's institutionalizing the blockade. Here's what leaked. Iran's proposal defers nuclear negotiations entirely. Focus first on the Strait of Hormuz and the U.S. blockade. Extend the ceasefire indefinitely, or agree to a permanent end to the war. Only after the strait reopens and the blockade lifts do nuclear talks begin. Iran is offering to separate the immediate crisis from the long-term dispute. And that puts India in an impossible position. If Iran's offer succeeds, India gets temporary energy relief while cementing permanent dependence. If it fails, the strait stays contested, and India's economy hangs by threads measured in days, not months. Either outcome strips New Delhi of the autonomy it spent decades claiming to possess. The leash just became visible.